I'll give everyone a strategy and then I'll share the ideas. Well, first, I guess the ideas. The idea is when you journey through life, to the degree you can spend time doing things for work that meet two qualities. One, is it meaningful for me? Is it aligned with a higher purpose? And two, does it make me happy? Do I enjoy the process of doing it? So basically, we all focus on achieving a lot. The question is this achievement connected to some higher purpose in life, number one? And number two, does it make me happy? Do I enjoy it?
But let me tell you one thing, I don't care what you think, I'ma just do me, and I wanna hear you sing. I got superpowers, superpowers, I got superpowers, superpowers, I got superpowers, superpowers, working 7 days a week.
Marshall Goldsmith, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Become Your Own Superhero podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, thank you to Natalie, your amazing assistant, for putting us in touch. And first question for you, Marshall. This is probably the most controversial one of the day. How many steps have you done?
Oh, today? I don't know. Yesterday I did about 10,420 though.
Why the obsession, if you can call it that, with the steps?
Oh, there's nothing magical about steps. Over COVID, I did 10,000 a day on the average. Now, since COVID, I do a little less, probably still maybe 4 miles a day, about 8,000 steps. We all just need to do something to stay in shape.
Well, yeah, it's a great answer. I don't know if you can beat this record, Marshall, but I once ran a 60-mile ultramarathon and I injured my iliotibial band halfway through and limped for the last 50 kilometers or 30 miles. And I registered 130,000 steps on my Garmin for the day. I don't ever want to repeat that in my life.
That's good. Yeah, I'll give you that award. You can have that one.
Are you hopeful for the future?
Yes, yeah, I'm always hopeful for the future. I'm working on an exciting new project now, MarshallBot. So I have my own AI bot. I'm teaching it all I know, and then it shares it with everybody in the world for free.
Well, have you ever had a moment in your life where you weren't hopeful for the future?
No, not too much. No, I tend to be more on the optimistic side. I've always thought that life would work out well.
Do you think that was an innate gift or feeling that you had from a very young age, or something you developed?
I think it's a little of both. I'm much more positive now than I was when I was younger. I used to be a lot more intense, perhaps sometimes angry, and now I'm much more at peace. I'm a Buddhist, so I've read about 400 books on Buddhism, and I've studied Buddhism a lot. So I think that helps me just make peace with what is.
Do you have a favorite Buddhist chant or mantra or saying that might help people that are better positioned than you and I are right now?
I would say a great book to read is called Old Path, White Clouds by Thich Nhat Hanh. Thichnhathanh. Thich Nhat Hanh, wonderful Buddhist monk. He wrote a book, Old Path, White Clouds, my favorite book. And also, I think the key is learning to be happy now. Then people say, well, I'm not so happy right this. Well, you only have to be happy 1 second. It does now. You know, don't focus so much on be happy next week or last year. Be happy now. Well, I'll give everyone a strategy and then I'll share the ideas. Well, first, I guess the ideas. The idea is when you journey through life, to the degree you can spend time doing things for work that meet two qualities. One, is it meaningful for me? Is it aligned with a higher purpose? And two, does it make me happy? Do I enjoy the process of doing it? So basically, we all focus on achieving a lot. The question is this achievement connected to some higher purpose in life, number one? And number two, does it make me happy? Do I enjoy it? If the answer is, yeah, I'm achieving quite a bit, and it's aligned with my higher purpose in life, and I enjoy the process, you just won.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. It's one of those things that I only figured out my purpose when I was 39. And I look back at the 20 odd years that I worked from 17 until that time doing jobs that I tricked myself into thinking were good and rewarding and fulfilling. And I now look back and realize that I was miserable for the majority of the time.
Yeah, I think, to the degree you can go through life answering, most people don't ask themselves these questions at all. So you're just lucky you did when you did. Better then than when you're 79.
Well, you're almost 70, if not 70 already.
I'm 74.
You're 74. They
Yeah,
must have
70.
recorded that documentary a long time ago.
Yeah, I was 70 then.
Well, you look great.
Thank you.
Do you have any idea how long you want to live for?
Yeah, I have no desire to break the world's longevity record. To me, how long I live is much less relevant than am I in good shape when I'm alive and happy when I'm alive. I have no desire to live a long life just to live a long life.
Yeah, let's assume that you're feeling how you feel now. How long would you like to live?
Yeah, right now, if I died next week, I'd be happy with life. I've had a good life.
Well, I'll share mine. And my GP has this permanent record that flashes up every time I visit, which isn't that often these days. It says patient says he's going to live till he's 150 and in good health.
There you go.
Health. And I suppose it leads into the question, like how important is optimal health in terms of succeeding in all the other areas of your life?
Well, I would say, let me give you a caution. We have this tendency to say, if I do X, I will get Y. Now, you can be in the best health in the world and not do much of anything from a professional point of view. And you can be in crappy health and be a multi-zillionaire. So let me give you a suggestion. Don't sit there and say, I'm going to be healthy because it's going to help me make money. Be healthy to be healthy. Be healthy because you feel better. You may or may not make money for being healthy. There's no real correlation between, I'm in great shape and I make money. That's a myth, right? Be healthy to be healthy. By the way, there's almost no correlation between achievement and happiness. People believe if I achieve more, I will be happy. No, you won't. There's almost no correlation between achievement and happy. Achieve to achieve, which is good. Be happy to be happy, which is good. Don't sit there and say, I'm going to be happy because it's going to help me make money someday.
Yeah, it's more around, some people talk about, and I've heard you talk about the significance of your legacy, right? And I have a thought, keen to share this with you, see what you think. I want to witness my legacy while I'm still around. I'm curious.
See, I feel good about that now. Like I said, I've got this 100 Coaches Legacy, which is very, very lovely program. I've had thousands of people send me cards and letters saying my life's a little better because I've met you. That's good enough. And so, my legacy is basically, let's say one person on this Zoom call has a little better life because anything I said is a good call, good use of my time. I don't have to do any more than that.
Do you remember the point in your life, Marshall, where you were like, you know what, if I died tomorrow, I'm complete?
Yeah, I think that's really in the last couple of years more true because over COVID, I had an interesting experience. My friend Mark Thompson and I spent 600 hours with 60 amazing people every weekend. We'd break them up into groups and they'd meet in various groups of 8 or 10 over and over and over. Almost every weekend for 2 years, we did this. And the names of these people are not a secret. These included Pau Gasol, the famous Spanish basketball star, Curtis Martin, the National Football League Hall of Fame. And we had the Broadway star. We had the head of the Olympic Committee, the president of the World Bank, the Rockefeller Foundation, CEOs, on and on and on. Every weekend, they talked about their lives. And what I learned is one of the guys in the group is Safi Bahcall. Safi's a brilliant scientist. He said, I finally realized in this group, I used to always believe I'd be happy if I achieved more. And he said, now I realize that's not true. There's almost no correlation between happiness and achievement. Everyone in this group has achieved more than 99.999% of all humans. Some are incredibly happy and some aren't. And some are not. And some people have achieved nothing and they're happy and some aren't. I said, Safi, I'm glad you realize this. You already have a PhD in physics from Stanford. You've already started 4 companies. You're a multi-zillionaire. And let's see, you wrote a New York Times bestselling book called Moonshots, and you consulted the presidents. Now, if that is not enough achievement to make you happy, you really think a little bit more is going to make any difference? Not really. I mean, you got to declare victory here. Well, let's see. I've already been ranked #1 leadership thinker in the world twice, #1 executive coach in the world forever. I've sold 3 million books. I got 4 New York Times bestsellers. And I think that's enough. I'm declaring victory here. I don't really think that make another $1 or $2 is that going to make me happy? Not really. Sell a book or 2, maybe not. Just I've done plenty.
Well, I think in my own experience, Marshall, it's fulfillment is the thing that I think people are looking for, you know, when they associate the climbing up the corporate ladder and becoming successful and getting the job and the house and the family, and they confuse it with being aligned to their purpose. And as a Buddhist, now it's not a practice that I know a huge amount about, and I don't identify with any religious affiliation, but I'm a very spiritual guy. And I feel like I'm guided by a far greater power than me. And in the four qualities of successful leaders, which are courage, humility, discipline, and adaptability, I'd like to propose another one in there in spirituality, and keen to hear where you think that might fit in.
Well, I think you can be very spiritual and be a great leader, or very spiritual and not be a great leader. So, you know, I'm very hesitant to say, do this so you'll get that. You know, yeah, do this to be a great leader. Be spiritual to be spiritual. Yeah, be spiritual. To have purpose, to have purpose. You don't have to have another reason to have purpose. And what we tend to do is we tend to hook everything into achievement. Somehow, if I do this, I will achieve more. I'll be a better leader. I'll make more money. I'll do something. You know, I don't think we really have to do that. You know, be healthy to be healthy. That's reason enough. You don't need any more reason to be healthy. Be happy to be happy. You know, and you're not going to get happy after you make money anyway. Just be happy to be happy, and be spiritual to be spiritual. It's a good thing to do in and of itself.
I want to push a little bit more on the spirituality, Marshall, if I may. I'm just keen to hear you.
By the way, I'm not a religious Buddhist at all. I'm not a metaphysical Buddhist at all. I don't believe Buddha hopped out of his mother's side and started talking in spirits and all that stuff. No, I'm a philosophical Buddhist. That's just, to me, a way of life.
Well, the observation that I have, Marshall, in my own journey, right, and this is just my own anecdotal experience, is that there's a large number of people in significant positions of power that don't have a connection to source. And those people seem to be doing some of the more damaging stuff in the world. And I'm just curious to hear your observation on that.
I would say yes and no. There are plenty of religious people that did horrific damage to the world in the name of God. So, you know, I don't think there's a lot of history to support what you just said. You know, allegedly, all these, quote, spiritual people and believed in God. How many wars were fought because of God? How many people have been killed because of that stuff? So, you know, I'd say, I'd give that a big, it all depends. Maybe sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot to be.
Adolf Hitler, he declared himself as spiritual. In his mind, he was spiritual. You know, so I'm not sure that just because somebody believes in a bunch of stuff and they're serious about it, they're necessarily going to do good for the world.
I'm not denying that there's been a number of issues with a lot of religious indoctrination stuff, but I think religion used as a form of control has done most of the damage. I think the fundamental principles that create success in the world, you know, love thy neighbor and all the other stuff that goes in, that's all the good stuff, but it can always be manipulated and subverted and all these other things. But it's just fascinating, especially around, because like for people that don't know Marshall, he has worked with the biggest leaders on planet Earth. And I have a tricky curly question for you, Marshall. You don't have to mention any names. What if someone that you'd worked with and coached and had great success with used what you had taught him or her and tweaked it, manipulated it, and ended up becoming the most nefarious person in history? How would you deal with that situation?
You know what I deal with it? Assuming, I learned this from my friend Harry Kramer. I want everyone listening to understand, you got to ask yourself two questions every day. Did I do what I thought was best at the time? And did I do what I thought was right? If the answer is yes and yes, you know what I do at night? Go to sleep. All I can do in life is do my best and do what I think is right. That's all. Now, have I made mistakes? Of course I have. We all do. It's okay. Yeah, how much sleep would I lose over that? None. As long as I did my best and did what I thought was right and I tried, that's all I could ever do anyway. By the way, I think to the history of my knowledge, that's never happened to me anyway. very unlikely. The people I work with all want to get better. They're great people and they care. If they have a bad attitude, I just refuse to work with them. So I have to say, in my many years, I've never had the experience you talked about or anything even vaguely close to it. It's an interesting theoretical question, but practically it's non-existent.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're in the gun, aren't you? So, like, for the people that aren't working with these leaders, they won't have that opportunity to influence and improve. So it's kind of like it's only reserved for people that are working in this space, isn't it? In many ways, it's a curious question, something that I've thought about from time to time.
It's an interesting question. My answer is, though, you know what I would do? Assuming I did what I thought was right and I tried, make peace.
What are the conditions in which you would fire someone who you're working with?
Basically, what's the mission of the organization? And if they're not making the valuable contribution to the mission of the organization, and number one, they're not doing it. And number two, they either, number one, don't have the potential to do it, or two, if they do have the potential, don't put in the effort to do it, then I think it's very justified to get rid of people.
Have you had to fire anyone recently?
I don't employ anyone. Now I fire potential customers all the time.
You've been on lots of plane rides, Marshall, and I have quite a lot of fun as you do it. I like talking to people and inevitably have conversations. Do you ever remember a time where you've had a conversation with someone maybe many years ago and they've reached out to you decades later, potentially, and that conversation that you had with them has sparked something and they've gone on to do magnificent thing?
I've had that happen more than you would imagine. You see, now my problem is not doing what I do. My problem is stopping. See, I have the opposite problem. Sometimes I go on an 8-hour flight. Some poor person sits next to me. They make a terrible mistake. What do you do for a living? 8 hours later, look over the poor person. Why did I even ask? Oh my God. See, my problem is not getting motivated to do what I do. My problem is stopping. So I've had that happen a lot. I coach people on the airplane all the time. Now, to be fair, for everyone that called me and said it was such a great experience, there are probably 10 that thought, what a pain in the butt.
Little do they know that people are shelling out millions of dollars to get the one-on-one time with you. That, isn't that funny? You have these experiences and sometimes it doesn't always go as planned. And this is my experience. Sorry, not sorry. A few home truths.
So anyway, that's good. What else? What else is going on?
Well, my wife had a question for you, Marshall. She wanted to know about the most effective way to get a message across to people.
Well, I look at myself on multiple dimensions. All right. One is what I call a broad dimension. Let's take something called like LinkedIn. Now, on LinkedIn, I have 1.5 million followers. I put that stuff on LinkedIn all the time. Now, I'm not delusional enough to believe that every person's going to do something based on everything I say on LinkedIn or every speech I give or every book I write. On the other hand, there's so many millions of them. So let's say that, I don't know, 1% of the people get something out of it. That's still a lot of people. And I'm not sitting there thinking I got to reach everybody. Let's say I reach 1%. Well, let's see, 10% is 150,000. Well, 1% of 15,000 people got a little better or something. I did. That's good. That's good. I mean, I did a LinkedIn post the other day, had 10 million views and 100,000 people liked it. Well, maybe they'd all change anything, but some of them might have. Well, that's still all good for me. So that's kind of called the big picture. And the bigger picture, my feeling is there's a lot of stuff. There's videos, there's books, there's the bot. The reality is the huge majority of people that read the book or watch the video are not going to change that much, but some might. So it makes me feel good. Then there's my speaking where I really interact with people, or team building, which is a little deeper, but not as broad. And then there's coaching, which is very deep, but not broad at all, very narrow. So I really have 3 different types of interactions with people. One is very, very narrow, but deep. One is kind of in the middle, and then one is very broad, but, again, 90% of the people are going to change. Like, no offense, I'm going to Australia to give a talk for the World Business Forum, right? They have 8 speakers. Now, do I really believe everyone in that audience is going to have a changed life because they listen to my speech as opposed to Simon Sinek or Jim Collins, whoever the other speakers are. I'm sure they're all wonderful people. Well, they might. Some one or two might. That'd be great. So as I've grown older, you see, I've changed. When I was young, I was a college professor. I was a dean. What was my goal? Teach people everything. Now I've worked with 200 CEOs around the world. What's my goal? Teach people anything. I'm way over everything here. Let's just go for something, just a little something good. That's good enough for me, just a little bit.
Well, my wife thanks you for your beautiful response. And the thing is, Marshall, a large number of the audience that watch this show and listen to it are in the coaching arena. And I know a huge number will be in awe in many cases of having you come onto the platform. What is in it? And
I'm going to give an invitation to your audience. If any of them are ever in Nashville, Tennessee, I take a walk every day I'm home. My email is marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. You send me an email, and if you're in Nashville, I go for a walk with you. There you go. And you send me an email if you have a question. Now, if they send me an email, I can't promise to get back to them immediately. I always get back to people eventually, though. If they're patient, I'll get back to them.
well,
Some people are cynical about their fans. I'm not one of those people. I love my fans. I'm not cynical at all.
Well, what a generous offer, and I might even take you up on that myself, Marshall. We're going to be heading that way in a few months, but I had an experience where I got to feel how it feels to be Marshall Goldsmith for a few short hours just the other day. As I mentioned, we're here in India, and I got a suit mate in this place, Chickpet, this part of Bangalore, and the tailor there, this guy Shahad, is a Muslim guy. And him and I got on really good. And he said, my brother's getting married. You must come to the wedding. And I said, well, thanks very much. Yeah, we'll come. And my wife's had this dream to go to an Indian wedding and told her the great news. And I said, how many people? Because I got married about a year ago, Marshall. We had 3 people there in a place in Las Vegas, right? He said 1,300. And we were gifted these beautiful outfits when we were in Hyderabad a few months ago. So it was a great, excuse to put these on. And so we go to this wedding, and there's 1,300 people. Anna and I are the only 2 Westerners, and we were inundated. We were there for about 9 hours with the most extraordinary kindness and love and questions and curiosity and a million selfies, right? Good. And I thought, this is what it feels like to be a megastar for a few short hours.
That's good. All good.
So, and for people that are curious, India is a heck of a country. I've been to 30 countries. I know you've been to a lot more than that, Marshall. This is one of my favorite places on planet Earth. You've been here a few times. What do you reckon?
I've been there 40 or 50 times. I love the people in India. I mean, the country itself, as you know, is a very chaotic place. I love the people, though, and it's my favorite place to teach in the whole world. You know why? They want to learn. Basic Hindu philosophy, parent, God, teacher. Also, a lot of what I teach is based on either Buddhist or Hindu philosophy. So I love working in India. Also, my books are very popular. I've sold, I don't know, a couple 100,000 books in India legally, couple 100,000 legally. God knows how many I've sold totally. Most of them are illegal. I sold a couple 100,000 legally. I actually got commission on those. That's shocking.
Well, I've been in parts of Bangalore here where they sell a lot of the academic books and a lot of the professional and self-development books, and there's millions of them. And I was thinking about this. I have heard about this as well. But you rest assured, Marsh, you'll know that someone that bought that book illegally has been positively impacted by what you wrote.
I don't care. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I give everything away anyway. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, speaking of giving everything away, I've enjoyed watching the Earn Life documentary twice now. And,
good.
And
I just bought the rights to that, so now I can give it away too.
Well, fantastic. I was curious to know, A, where the inspiration came for that, and 2, what was the beautiful unintended byproduct of that coming out into the world?
I would say the inspiration for that just came from a couple of requests. And somebody said, how'd you like to do a movie of your life? Said, people are going to fund it. So I said, well, as long as I have to pay for it, it's fine with me. So, and the movie is really beautifully produced. I mean, the photography is fantastic. And so I was really happy with that. And I would say it's just the same as everything else for me. I just try to get the message out in any way that I can.
Well, it came across beautifully, and I've had meetings with Patrick Wazowski, I think his name is one of the
Patrick. Yeah.
And for anyone that's interested as well, there are people out there like Patrick and his wife who put together these beautiful visual masterpieces, especially for people that want to get their message out. And I love, because it's a very organic way of creating awareness towards you, Marshall. It was a really lovely sentiment. It didn't feel forced in any manner. And I just wanted to share that feedback with you. And it's inspired me to do something of my own in the future as well.
I will share that with Patrick and Kasha. They're the people that did the work behind that. Also, I was very proud. I had 6 or 7 of my big clients on that. They were kind enough to, you know, their time is very valuable. So they were kind enough to, you know, put some time in on that.
So what's on your heart these days, Marshall?
Well, you know, let's see, what am I up to these days? Well, the first thing I'm working on immediately is MarshallBot, where I'm teaching my little AI bot all that I know. And the idea is to give it to people as much as I can. And it's really a really interesting challenge to do that. Now, I'm not naive. I understand how bad some of this new technology is going to be. And on the other hand, my feeling is do some good about it, do some good with it. My friend Martin Lindstrom is the world's greatest expert on branding. He won't even carry around a cell phone. He said, this stuff is just toxic. But he's working on the world's largest metaverse project. So I said, why are you doing this? This has a potential to be phenomenally addictive to kids and just screw their minds up. He said, you're exactly right. That's why I'm doing it. I just want to do something good here. Well, that's why I look about what I'm doing with artificial intelligence. I just want to do something good. I'm not saying bad things aren't going to happen. I'm sure they are. I just want to do something good, though. I don't want to be some grumpy old man standing outside the door complaining. Let's just do some good here.
Well, it's a fascinating subject. I interviewed a guy, Dr. Alan Thompson, who's a friend of mine, young guy out of Australia, who's been leading the way in this AI revolution for a long time now. And I asked him a question. I said, based on the speed of technology and the direction that it's going, is it likely that some point in the future that the technology will be able to detect lies and the truth and be able to, and in doing so, should I live my life to the closest level of integrity that I can, so that when the shit does hit the fan, I can go, look, I did a pretty good job.
Oh, that's funny. That's very, very funny. And yeah, I'm sure it probably will.
Well, he said, yeah, he said the original, I forget the name when AI becomes more intelligent than human. It'll come to me in a minute. But they estimated it to be 100 years about 5 or 6 years ago. And now it's like 20 years, right? And it's probably going to only speed up faster from that. So that conversation really helped me, Marshall. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my best to speak the truth to the best of my abilities. And that's had a massively positive impact in my own life, operating in integrity as best I can.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think you've got the right strategy. Just, you know, life is short. And again, making the best of all these things. So, you know, my little computer bot, I said, you know, well, you ever replace me as an executive coach? And, you know, the bot's very nice. It said, well, you know, I can provide ideas faster than you and probably more thorough. And certainly the bot's memory is better than mine. He said, still, you need humans to have empathy and feeling. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if the bot meant that, but he may be saying it to be nice to me.
Just buttering us up for the Terminator style takeover.
So anyway, my little bot can answer 50% of all the questions I ask it better than I can now, as judged by me. And I'm the one that I've got my own bot. I'm programming it myself. So this is not, it doesn't go to the internet. This is all stuff I program into it. And it's amazing. I like it though, it's fun.
Now, well, here's a question for you. How long before they develop technology where they can replace your physical characteristic in the real world. And then you can plug your AI. And then if you have a fight with the wife, you can just leave the AI to deal with the cleanup.
Well, in terms of this Zoom call, that's going to be within 2 years. Yeah, in terms of Zoom call, it's almost here now. So the video technology, you can't tell the difference in a reasonably short order. Yeah, the robot is a little over my pay grade. I don't know about that one.
Well, how important do you think is the human touch when it comes to especially doing what you do and in this whole space?
Well, I think it's very, very important because a lot of what I deal with really is more around how people deal with emotions. It's emotions and feelings, and a lot of it is just numbers or technology. One of the leaders that I coach, I'm very proud of, is Hubert Joly. Hubert wrote a book about it called The Heart of Business. He went to Best Buy, company in America. The stock they were going bankrupt. Totally turned the company around. A great CEO, just a great person. But he wrote a book called The Heart of Business. And his whole book is he got coaching, he got feedback. He talks about trying to improve, what it meant to him. And he gets up in front of everybody and says, look, I need to be a better leader. Please help me. What a great role model. Well, I can't imagine a video bot doing that very well.
Yeah, I agree. I think as fantastic as this technology is for you and I to be able to connect in this manner, I really, I live in Mexico and I love coming to the States or coming to India or whatever and spending time where people speak English because I don't speak any other languages very well and having those one-on-one conversations. It really is very uplifting and rejuvenation of the batteries.
Yes, I agree.
So Marshall, how do people get a hold of you?
Just send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com, or you go to my website, www.marshallgoldsmith.com, or they go to LinkedIn. I have a little presence on Facebook and Twitter and the others, but mostly on LinkedIn. And then I can't have any more really connections because they tap you out on that. But you can always be in the followers. So I've got, again, 1.5 million now.
Marshall, do you have any concluding thoughts for our amazing audience today?
Yes, amazing audience. Are we ready? I'm going to give you the best coaching you're ever going to get in this or perhaps any other lifetime. Are we ready? Here it comes.
We're ready.
Take a deep breath. Take a deeper breath. I want you to imagine you're 95 years old and you're just getting ready to die. You're on that deathbed. Here comes that last breath. But right before you take the last breath, you're given a beautiful gift, the ability to go back in time. The ability to go back in time and talk to the person who's listening to me right now. The ability to help that person be a better leader, much more important, the ability to help that person have a better life. What advice would the wise 95-year-old you, who knows what mattered in life and what didn't, and what was important and what wasn't, have for the you that's listening to me right now? Whatever you're thinking now, do that. In terms of performance appraisal, that's the only one that matters. That old person says, you did the right thing, you did the right thing. That old person says, you made a mistake, made a mistake. You do not have to impress anyone in the world but that old person. Some friends of mine interviewed old folks who are dying, get to ask this question, what advice would you have? On the personal level, 3 themes. Theme number 1, 3 words, be happy now. Not next week, not next month, not next year. The Great Western says, I'll be happy when I get the money, status, BMW, condominium, when I achieve this and that. I will be happy when. We all have exactly the same when. That old person is when. Learning point from old people, I got so busy chasing what I did not have, I could never appreciate what I did have, and I had just about everything. Many of the people listening to us right now, I'm sure bright people, probably healthy, friends, family. Compared to me, you've got youth. Don't get so busy chasing what you don't have, can't see what you do have. Number 2, friends and family. Never get so busy climbing that ladder of success, you forget about the people who love you. Well, when you're 95 years old, you look around your deathbed, none of your coworkers waving goodbye. Those people that love you, they're the ones going to be there. And number 3, if you have a dream, go for it, because you don't go for it when you're 30. You may not when you're 40 or 80. It doesn't have to be a big one, little one. Go to New Zealand, speak Spanish, play a guitar. Others think your dream is goofy. Who cares? It's not their dream, it's your dream. Had a very embarrassing experience a few years ago. Teach my class, I said, go to New Zealand, speak Spanish. I raised his hand and says, we're in Spain, you idiot. We all speak Spanish. Business advice isn't much different. Number one, life is short. Have fun. Enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy the process of life itself. Number two, do whatever you can do to help people. The main reason help people has nothing to do with money or status or getting ahead. The main reason help people is much deeper. The 95-year-old you will be proud of you because you did. The 95-year-old you will be disappointed if you don't. If you do not believe that's true, interview any CEO who has retired. I've interviewed very many, and ask them a question. Please tell me, what are you proud of? None have told me how big their office was. None have told me how much money they made. All they ever talk about is the people they help. And final advice is also saying, go for it. The world's changing, your industry's changing, do what you think is right. You may not win, at least you tried. Old people, we don't regret the risks we take and fail, we regret the risks we fail to take. And finally, what's my mission on this Zoom call? Pretty simple. Hope maybe I said something may help you have a little better life. Maybe you enjoyed the last few minutes we get to spend together. Anything at all, I'm declaring victory here. So if a couple people had a positive experience, a little better life based on this hour, that was a very good use of my time. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Marshall Goldsmith.